Hey everyone, how's it going? So in today's video, we're going to be implementing the final part of our zombie shooter survival game. And we're going to be implementing some game progression with dynamic / like changing difficulty. So as we progress through this game, as we get further to the right of the screen over here, the game will get harder. There'll be more zombies, and we'll have new types of zombies, like smaller, bigger zombies with more or less health and speed as we go farther right. And we're also going to add in the ability for the zombies to actually drop gold so that our players can collect gold and buy things for the upgrade. And the further right they go, the more money they're going to get, the more gold they'll drop. So one other thing I wanted to mention real quick is this is going to be the last video of this series. I have done, I think, most of the features in my original game, although not every single one. So if people have specific requests on other things they'd like to see, feel free to mention it in the comments. I am not really planning to do any more videos, but if somebody has some specific ideas of what they want to see, I may do some more in the future. But mostly I'm excited I've been making this tutorial for like a year and a half, and I'm very excited to move on to doing new stuff than just the zombie shooter game all of the time. So this is probably the last you're going to see of it for a while. So the first thing we need to, in order to do difficulties, we need to sort of have some progression. We need to have a goal for our character. And I think our character's goal is going to be to get as far to the right of the screen as they can. So the further right they get, the harder the game will get, the more rewards they'll get. That's going to be the goal, is how far to the right you can get and still survive. To do that, I want to have a way of measuring how far we get. So I want to track like how many pixels or whatever to the right we've gone. So I'm going to create a variable called distance. And then for this distance variable, we're going to start it set to 0. So we're going to start distance as set to 0. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to change her distance by whatever her current speed is, whatever she's currently moving at. And that is going to give us the total distance she has gone. So I'm going to switch this to a large readout and put it right in the center just so it looks a little bit nicer. And then when we start our game, we'll see that as we move forward, we can track how far we've gotten. So now that I know how far we are, the next thing I want to do is go into our zombie code here, and I want to change these spawn rules based on how far along we are. So I'm going to start by just getting rid of basically all the spawn code we have in here. We'll keep one of the weights and we'll keep one of the clones. Actually, let me explain one other thing first. So in Scratch, there is something called a clone limit. When you're creating clones, there's a limit to how many clones Scratch can have. So one thing we want to do when we're creating clones is generally we want to make sure that we're not going too crazy with the number of clones we create. So what I like to do is keep track of how many clones we've created. So I'll create a variable called, we'll call it zombie clones. And then we're gonna make sure we know how many clones we have so we don't accidentally create like way too many and end up like breaking our game because we're over the clone limit. So to keep track of the number of clones we have of zombies, we are going to increase, we're going to start that at 0 when we start our game. So the zombie clones will start at 0. And then whenever one of them spawns, so whenever a clone of the zombies is created, we will change that number by 1. So change zombie clones by 1. And whenever they are removed, we will remove 1. We will change that number by 1. So right here, right before we say delete clones, we'll change it by -1 because that would mean we lost a zombie clone, it died. So when we start as a clone, we increase it by 1. When we lose that clone, when the zombie dies, we decrease it by 1. And then also when we change state, we want to just set it to 0 because we're going to destroy all of our zombies. So we'll say zombie clones is equal to 0. So now if I start my game and I run it, and anytime I start a zombie, anytime I create a zombie, this zombie clones number will go up. And if I kill some zombies, you'll see it go back down to 0. So then what we're going to do here is we're going to say, first, we're going to say if our zombie clones are less than a certain number, and you can pick whatever you want the limit for zombies to be. I'm going to say 50. I don't want more than 50 zombie clones in this game at any time. And then we'll go ahead and grab the zombie clones variable, and we'll say as long as zombie clones is less than 50, we can create a clone. Okay, so now what this would do now is just create 50 zombies right away. So here, it just creates 50 zombies. And then it stops right there because we don't create more than that. We hit our limit. So now what we want to do is we don't want those zombies to just all spawn at once like that. What we want to do is space it out a little bit. And we want the amount that we space it out, the time between zombies spawning, to increase as we get further to the right, or to decrease as we get further to the right. So it gets harder, so they spawn faster. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab an if-else statement here and stick it after our create clones code here. And what we're going to do is we're going to check if we are close to the right. So if our distance is less than 480. So if we are within the first 480 pixels, if this number is less than 480, then we're going to wait 2 seconds in between spawning zombies. Otherwise, if we get past 480, we're going to start having the speed that they spawn at just increase as we go further. And so we can do a little bit of math to get a pretty good number for that. So what we're going to say is otherwise we are going to wait and then we're going to do a little bit of a calculation. We're going to say take 960 and divide it by the total distance we've gone. So as we move further to the right, this number gets divided by a larger and larger number, and it takes less and less time for zombies to spawn once we're past that 480 benchmark. I want to give people some breathing room. So until you get past 480, it's pretty easy, and then it starts getting harder and harder. So I'm going to cheat a little bit just so we can test this out. I'm going to turn off Adventure Girl losing health real quick, just so we can show how this works. So as we go to the right, you're going to see we're still under 480, so they spawn every 2 seconds. We get a new zombie, and they're coming here. We'll keep going. Now, as we start going further, you're going to notice the spawn rate's going to start to increase slowly. The further we get to the right, the more spawning we're going to see. So now, if you notice, they're already spawning in faster. These are spawning in like only like 1 second or less than 1 second. Like they're starting to spawn in very quickly. And that's what we want. So as we get further, they spawn in just like faster and faster and faster. So the game gets like much more challenging for our players. When we're not cheating and having infinite health. Look, they're spawning really quick now. This would be like almost impossible, I think, to get through. Maybe with the later upgrades. We'll see. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to have some different types of zombies. I don't want our zombies to always be these exact same size zombies. I want to have little zombies that are much faster but have low health. And I want to have bigger zombies that have a lot of health but they move really slow. So to do that, I'm going to start by just breaking off this repeat until here so we can sort of mess with the zombie code. And since I'm going to be changing their speed, I'm also going to go ahead and create a variable for zombie speed. And it's going to be very important that this variable is set to for the sprite only because we're going to need it for all of our clones. So now we have a zombie speed variable. What we're going to do is we're going to set, so the default zombie, this is for our default zombie, our normal size zombie. So we're going to set the normal zombie speed is going to be, we're going to increase it. So it's 1 right now. I'm going to have it be 2. And I'm going to have their normal health. I'm also going to increase a little bit. I'm going to increase their health to 6 just to make this game a little bit more engaging here and a little more challenging. Now that we have a speed that the zombies are going to walk at, we're also going to go ahead and change. So right here is where we were doing the zombie speed before. We were setting their X position by 1 or -1. Instead, we are going to use that speed variable. So we're going to take whatever the zombie's speed is, and we're going to use that. And then for going the other direction, we're going to use the reverse, the minus of their speed. So we're going to take -1 times zombie speed. I also, real quick here, while we're in these variables, I'm going to go ahead and stop showing some of these values. And we can also take our distance and make it a large readout and stick it right in the center is usually what I do. I think that looks a little bit better. Since we're increasing our zombies' health, our default zombies' health and our default zombies' speed a little bit, I'm also going to change Adventure Girl's health and our speed and damage a little bit to keep up with these changes. So we're going to have her damage start at 1 higher. So she's going to start out doing 2 damage with her gun. And we're also going to have her speed start out 1 higher. So we're going to have her speed start at 3 instead of 2. So she's a little faster than the default zombies. So then what we want to do is we want to have some cases. We want to randomly choose to spawn other types of zombies, but only if we're so far in the screen. I want the first 480 pixels here to be pretty safe. The first 480 distance to the right you get, I want to be the safe zone. And then once you get past that, it might start spawning like crazy types of zombies. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to grab an if statement. And in this if statement, I am going to say if our distance is greater than 480, so if our distance is greater than 480, then we're going to start choosing to spawn. We're going to randomly choose to spawn some zombies. So the way we're going to do the randomness here is we're going to grab an if statement and an equals here, and we're going to say if 1 is equal to, and then this is the probability of a type of zombie spawning. So I'm going to use this first one is going to be for the little zombies. I want there to be a 1 in 4 chance that it spawns a little zombie. So I say if 1 is equal to, and then it's going to pick a random number between 1 and 4, and this will give us a 25% chance of a little zombie spawning once we're past 480. So then to make something a little zombie, what I want to do is I want to take its size, and you'll notice our current size is 30, so we're going to do half that size for a little zombie. We're going to make them 15. We should also set our original zombies. We should make sure they're set to the correct amount. So we're going to set them to 30. And then the other thing for our little zombie is we're going to have their speed is going to be different. So we're going to set their speed to a little bit faster. So we're going to set their speed to maybe like 3 or 4. We'll try 4 and see how that works. And we're going to set their health to a little bit less because they're smaller. So we'll set their health to like 3. We'll do half of the normal zombie. And then basically we're just going to do the exact same thing for the big zombies. So I'm going to duplicate this code, and then I want the big zombies to be a little bit more rare. So I'm going to do maybe 1 in 6 chance of them spawning. I'm going to make them 60%. They're going to be twice as big. And then I'm going to have their speed is going to be really slow. They're going to be like a speed of 1. And they're going to have health, though, of like, I think like 12. They're going to have twice the health. They're going to have a lot of health. And then I should be able to stick this repeat until back on here. And if I click start, we're going to see that we start with these small zombies. And here, I still have my health loss disabled, so we'll just run to the right. And now we're past the 480 point. We should start seeing here, there's the little zombie. It's also flying, so that's not quite what I wanted, but it's a good start. They look good. I'm also noticing, though, there's a few weird things happening here. So one thing that I'm not liking is that my knife can still kill them with just one hit. Oh, there's a big zombie, by the way. They're kind of large. We also need to fix where they're located. They seem to be off a little bit. But one thing I want to fix here, as I was saying, was the knife is still killing these zombies in one shot, and it's not supposed to be. The zombies are supposed to have 6 health, and the knife only is supposed to deal 4 damage. So there's some issue happening here. And I think that what the issue is that when this hitbox gets shown, it gets shown for like a little bit of time. It's on the screen for a couple of frames. And so I think that this calculation ends up running multiple times, which isn't quite what we want to do. What we want to do is space it out a little bit. We want to give it time for the animation to go away. So if I look at the animation here, how long this animation lasts for, if I look at her melee, it looks like it doesn't last very long. It just lasts for a few frames here while we run her thing, maybe like 6 frames. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a wait, an amount of time, and I'm going to just have it wait like 0.1 seconds, just so we give it time so that we're not damaging the zombies twice from the same melee attack. So now if I run it and I click start, they don't die. Oh, they still die. 1 second. Do I have to do it longer? Maybe if I had to make it like 0.2? There we go. So I had to make it 0.2 to make sure we got far enough. But there you go. So now the zombies don't quite die from the knife. The knife doesn't do quite enough damage to kill a zombie right off the bat, which is what I want. It's too easy otherwise if we can just kill them right away. So the other thing I wanted to do is, if you remember, I had some floating zombies, though. The little zombies were too small and the big zombies were too big, and they both got stuck in weird places. And so that happens just because our zombies calculate where they are from their very center. So if you like look at one of our zombie clones, they think the center of them is right here. And so yeah, if they're really small, they'll be floating, and if they're really big, they'll be stuck in the ground. So what we want to do is we just want to make up for that by offsetting them a little bit. So if we start if our zombies are small zombies, we need them to go down a little bit. So we'll have them go -20. And if our zombies are big, we need to have them move up a little bit to compensate for how large they are. So we'll have them go up by 40Y. And so you should notice now, if we click start and we play our game, once we get far enough to the right, you should start to see, there you go, our little zombies are at the right height, and we should see that our big zombies are at the right height too. Just a second. As soon as we spawn, there you go. Now our big zombies are also at the right height. So the last thing we need to do is we need to make our zombies actually drop gold, because right now they drop nothing, and there's no way for our players to get gold without cheating. So we want to give our players an ability to get gold. So what we're going to do is we are going to start by the first thing we're actually going to do is we're going to find a sprite sheet for gold, because I don't have any gold coins in here right now. And I already have one of those for you that I'll have linked in the description here. This is what we're going to use. I have this linked in the description, so you can go ahead and look and grab it from there, or find your own gold if you want. But what you can do is you can right click on this and say save image as, and we're going to save it as whatever you want. I'm going to call mine, what did I call mine last time? I'm just going to save it as its default. So once you have that downloaded, you can go ahead and go into upload a sprite and choose the coin clip art sprite. And then I am just going to go ahead. I made this a sprite sheet because I want the coins to rotate, because I think it looks really nice when they rotate. And so I'm going to stick each one of these in a different costume, and I will see you guys when that's done. All right, so now that we have all of our coins, what we want to happen is first we want to make them a little bit smaller. They're pretty big right now. That looks like a good size for a coin. What we want to have happen is that in our zombies, when one of our zombies dies, we want to go ahead and create some clones for that zombie. When that zombie dies, we want to go ahead and create some coins for that. So right here, right when our zombie dies, we're going to go ahead and create some clones of the coin. So we can say create a clone, and one of the things you can choose is, instead of creating a clone of yourself, you can create a coin of something else. I'm going to rename this to coin real quick. And then we can choose in our drop down here, we can choose to make clones of the coin. And one thing that I want to do is, as we get further to the right, I want the amount of money that's dropped to get larger. Also, I want this to scale too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a repeat until, and we're going to create more of these coins depending on how far to the right we are. So if we're going to take the we're going to take our distance and we are going to divide it by, I think 240 is going to be the amount. So we're going to take our distance, we're going to divide it by 240, and we're going to say that is the amount of times we're repeating. Wait, you can't say that. Oh, I did a repeat until. Whoops, sorry. This has to be a repeat. Just a repeat, a normal repeat. There we go. And so we're going to repeat that for distance divided by 240. So the idea would be, and we're going to do the ceiling of that. So we're going to take one of these operators here, and we're going to say do the ceiling. And if anybody doesn't know what ceiling means, is it's going to round the number up, basically. So we're going to take distance divided by 240. So if we're between 0 and 240, this will be between 0 and 1, so it'll be like 0.2 or 0.5, and then we're going to take the ceiling of that, so it'll go up to 1. And then when we're between 240 and 480, it will be like, that will be between 1 and 2, so like maybe like 1.3 or 1.4, and we'll take the ceiling of that, and that'll be 2 gold. So between 240 and 480, we'll get 2 gold, and then between the next level, we'll get 3 gold, and then 4 gold, and so on. And we'll create that many of these coins. So then I'll connect this back up, and then in our coin code over here, what I'm going to want to do is first we want to go ahead and hide our original one. So we're going to go ahead and hide. We will go ahead and set its location just so we have it set to, I think right about there sounds right. Maybe a little lower, like right here, I think. So we'll go ahead and set that as default location. We'll hide it and we'll have it go to the front layer because we're always going to want this right in the front. So then whenever we create a clone of this, so whenever I start as a clone, we are going to go ahead and create some of these. So when I start as clone, we are going to make sure that we show it. And we are going to have a little bit, I like a little bit of an effect when they come in. So I'm going to have them set a ghost effect. We're going to have them set the ghost effect, or they're going to start at 50. And we're going to also set their pixelate effect is going to start at 100. And then I'm going to repeat 5 times. We're going to have a little repeat in here. We're going to repeat 5 times. We're going to have these effects change, so we get a little bit of an animation coming in. So we're going to change the ghost effect and the pixel effect. And they're going to change by -10 for the ghost effect and -20 for the pixel effect. So we undo what the effects were, and it will look like an animation. You'll see how it looks in just a second. So what you're going to see then is that I kill a zombie, and as long as I'm to the right of the screen a little bit, I get a gold. That gold shows up. Now, we're not making the gold move against the backdrop, so there's some other work we need to do, but that's the idea. You can also see that if I'm too far over to the left, if I'm negative some amount, then I don't get gold. I don't get any gold because I'm too far to the left, because my number here is negative. We need to be positive to start earning gold. So now we are going to make this gold sort of stays on the screen and is going to have to scroll along with the backdrop. And so we're going to need to repeat some of the code that we did for like our zombies or for our crates, for instance. I think the most convenient example of this is probably the crates. So I'm going to go ahead and basically just steal the entire code for the crate. So I'm going to take this code here and I'm going to drag it into the coin. You have to be really careful when you're copying code. It's very easy to miss things and accidentally mess something up, but we're going to try to be really careful here. But most of this code is going to look very similar. So these two will be a little bit different, but all this code should work about the same way. What we're going to do is we're going to make a new variable. We're going to make it for this sprite only. We're going to call it coin x. And so anywhere we were using xpos crate, we're going to use, I guess it should be xpos coin. Let me do that instead. Xpos coin. There we go. So anywhere we're using xpos crate, we're going to use xpos coin instead. So xpos coin, these will all be xpos coin. There we go. And then when we create this, we don't want to set its position totally randomly. We want it to start where our zombie died. So to do that, we're going to do something kind of weird here. We're going to say, well, first we'll set this to xpos coin, and this one will also be xpos coin. And we can go ahead and uncheck this so we don't show it up there. And then what we're going to do is we want to keep track of where our last zombie died, and we want to set it to that location. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our zombies here, and I'm going to create a new variable for all sprites, and it's going to be called last zombie death x pause. Okay. And so what this variable is going to do is that when our zombie dies, we're going to save their X variable and we're going to use it for our coin. So we're going to say, we're going to set our, where did I put it? Last zombie death X pause, that's a long variable name. And we're going to set that to whatever the zombie's current X position is. And so our current X position is this X position. And then we are going to go basically into our thing here, our code for the coin here. And we're going to go grab whatever that last X position was for our last zombie death. Oh, one thing, I messed this up. One mistake I made here real quick, this setting the last position needs to happen before we create the clones of the coins, because we need to know the X position where we're going to spawn the coins before we actually start creating the coins, if that makes sense. And then when we go back to our coin code here, we can go ahead and use that last zombie X position. So we can go ahead and grab this. We can uncheck it here, we don't need to see it. And then I'm going to randomize it just a little bit. We don't want all the coins to spawn in right on top of each other because it'll look really weird. So we want them to be basically between, we'll have them be a little bit random, but mostly they'll be by the zombie X position plus or minus, 10 pixels on either side, just so that we can see them a little bit better. And then the rest of this will stay exactly the same. We go to that location and all this should stay. Oh, and one thing I almost missed. See, this is why it's scary to copy stuff. I almost missed this one. We need this one to also be XPOS coin, so it actually goes to the location. And so now, if we start our game and we kill a zombie, we should see that the coin falls there, and then it moves against the scrolling backdrop. Now that we have our coins spawning incorrectly, the next thing we want to do is actually make it possible for Adventure Girl to pick them up. So I'm going to go grab a when I start as clone, and then what we're going to do is we are going to wait until we are touching Adventure Girl. And then once we are going to change her amount of gold. We're going to give her some gold. So we'll say change her amount of gold by 1 because she's picking up 1 coin. And then we will go ahead and delete this clone so she can't pick it up multiple times. So then we will say delete this clone. So if I run this, what it ends up looking like is we can kill zombies and then pick up coins from them. And really we should have a sound effect playing here too. I don't have a sound on hand yet. Feel free to add one. So this is all looking really good. The last thing I want to do, I think in this entire series basically, is go ahead and make these coins rotate a little bit so they're not just sitting still. And so to do that, I'm going to do a really simple rotation script. I'm just going to say when I start as clone, we are going to have them just start forever switching between costumes. So we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to do their looks, and we're going to have them flip to their next costume, and we're going to have them wait a little bit, so otherwise this whole effect will go really, really fast. So we might have them wait like, I don't know, 0, or maybe do 2 of those, 2 zeros. And so then when I start this, let's see how that looks. We have the coins rotating there on the ground, which actually looks really nice. I like how that looks a lot. And then you'll see when we die. Oh, I forgot to put my death script back in. Let's make it possible to lose again. So now you see when I die, I've gotten 205 gold. That's not right. Oh, here, we just have this gold is being set to 200 right now. We'll just set it to 0 in the shop. At this point, we pretty much have all of the major functionality we need for this game. It pretty much does everything that I want it to do. There are a few small bugs I want to work out real quick. So the first one is that I think that we're getting gold. I'm mean to my players. I think we're getting gold way too fast. Like by the time we're up to like 300, like we've just barely started the game, we're already hitting like getting 2 gold. I think that rate's a little bit too fast. So I'm going to increase I'm going to decrease how much gold we get. So I'm going to change this, instead of 240, getting 1 gold every 240 feet, I'm going to have it be 1 gold per 480 feet. And this way we should still be getting 1 gold when we start the game. But now we'll have to go a lot further before we start getting 2 gold. We'll have to be going all the way to past 480, which is where the game starts to get more challenging anyways. So I think that's a little bit better in a game balance sense. One of the other issues we're having here is, if you notice, when I melee attack a zombie, there's this moment where they pause. You see this thing where they like pause before they die, where they just like stop. Like the death animation doesn't play right away, they just stop. Here, I'll show this again. So I shoot them, it's not die. I shoot them and then they just like stop before they die for that split second. I don't like that. And we can fix it pretty easily. The reason it's happening is because when our zombie when we have our zombie code here, one of the things we're doing here is we check if in here we check if we're touching the zombie with the melee hitbox, if we've hit them with melee. And if we have hit them with melee, we just stuck in this 0.2 seconds so that the melee box doesn't damage them twice. But the problem with this is that if they die, it should move straight into doing this code. It should move straight into doing their death animations. But instead, it does this weird thing where it waits 0.2 seconds because they were just hit with the melee box. Fortunately, this is a really easy fix. So instead of having the melee box pause this like whole thread over here, what we can do is we can just sort of start a new process over here and stick our melee code into here. So we just have a different when I start is clone forever, and then we just have this forever only checking if the melee hitbox happens. And then if we get hit by the melee hitbox and wait 0.2 seconds, this code is still over here running, so it won't delay, this code won't block this code from executing. So now if we run it, you'll see that when we melee a zombie, oops, I killed them too quickly. When we melee a zombie, we go right, they die right away, they immediately die. So we hit the zombie, they die right away, which is what we wanted. The last thing I want to cover is that zombies, dead zombies are able to damage Adventure Girl, which is pretty dumb. Here, I'll show an example of this real quick. So if we kill a zombie and then you see this, if I run into a dead zombie, it actually damages me. Like there, that zombie was dead, it shouldn't have damaged me. And the reason that's happening is because we calculate Adventure Girl's damage right here. We just check if we're touching a zombie sprite. And if we're touching a zombie sprite, then we do damage to Adventure Girl. But the problem with this is that even when a zombie is dead, we're still touching a zombie sprite, even though the zombie is dead. So what we probably want to do is move this code over into our zombie, and then we'll check if we're touching Adventure Girl's hitbox, and also if the zombie's health is greater than 0, then we'll do damage. But if the zombie's health is 0 or less, then we won't do damage because the zombie would be dead. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this, and we're gonna move, I'm just gonna take out this forever loop, and we're gonna stick it into the zombie sprite. I'm gonna go ahead and delete it from here. And then in our zombie sprite, what we want to do is I'm going to do this as, again, I'm going to start a new process for this so that these weights don't get in the way of each other. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to operators, and we're going to say if we are, if our health is greater than 0, if our zombie's health is greater than 0, if the zombie health is greater than 0, so the zombie is still alive, and if we are also touching the Adventure Girl hitbox, so and if we are touching the Adventure Girl hitbox. Oh, wait, hold up. Keller from the future here. I clicked Adventure Girl, but I said the right thing. We want the Adventure Girl hitbox, not Adventure Girl. Otherwise, we're losing all the benefits of using the hitbox. So just make sure you don't do what I did. Don't do Adventure Girl, do Adventure Girl's hitbox instead. Then we do this thing where we decrease health by -1 and wait 1 second. So now if we start it, you'll see that when we kill zombies, their dead bodies no longer deal damage to us, which is good because it would be very weird for a dead zombie body to be damaging us. I mean, I don't know, unless you want the game to work out like that. I guess that's an option. And there you go. After, oh my gosh, a year and a half, I have finally finished the zombie game. There's some polish missing, there's some effects I didn't add, but for the most part, by and large, this is how the game works, and we've gotten through the whole thing. So if you've made it this far, and you've stuck with this and you've actually built this project, congratulations, that's pretty cool. This is a absolutely enormous project, so if you got through it, I'm very impressed that you were able to follow along the whole time. And so with that, I think that's everything. Thank you guys for sticking with me through this whole enormous, very long tutorial series that took me a year and a half to make. And I will see you in the next video, and it won't even be a zombie survival video, it'll be something else, so that's pretty exciting.